Hello, just getting set up, getting started. How's everybody? I wanted to continue with our quick sketch of the crystals for Inktober that we started. We worked on it just for 30 minutes and that was it. And I'd like to do another 30 minutes and get a little further. So the idea was to do a quick oil painting, almost like a plein air style, just quick, get it done. And that didn't work out. So because we did 30 minutes and we were barely scratched the surface. So I want to continue down that road and see if we can work another 30 minutes and see what happens. I'll archive these on YouTube so you can find them there. And we'll continue to do brush exploration and figure out how to emulate that look of oils in Photoshop. And yeah, feel free to introduce yourself and say hello in the chat. So let's take a look at where we left off last time. I lost my mouse on my many monitors here. There it is. All right, so here's where we are. We just started out, I'll show you what we started with. We had a quick pencil drawing, and then from the pencil drawing, we dropped in a Kyle Webster paper texture that was available for free. And then we painted in some whites and some darks. And then on one layer, we did some crystals. And we did this basically just with oil brushes, with the mixer brushes. So you got the regular paint brushes over here, and then there's the mixer brushes. And there's about 2,000 brushes that have been made in Photoshop that are ready to use. Most of them by Kyle Webster. If you don't have them, you can download them. I'm going to focus primarily on this one down here called Real Oils. And you see all of these real oils are mixer brush presets. So let's use these and see what we can do. Last time I think we were using primarily bristly bob and one of the palette knives. We can continue with that. That's worked fine for us last time. I do like experimenting and coming up with what brushes do what, because there's so many brushes, it's hard to know what it is they do unless you actually experiment with them and get them out of your toolkit and use them. Now there's not a digital media emulator in Photoshop the way that there is in Fresco. So that means that in order to get each different brush stroke, each different little bit of texture, you've got to actually keep changing tools, keep changing brushes. And so that's part of that experimentation, to become more and more familiar with these until you know them and can use them and switch between them and get the looks and the effects that you want. Don't forget to say hello in the chat and introduce yourself so I know who you are. I'll try to keep an eye on that. All right, so if we get, let's see what we got here. There's a lot to pick from. Anything catch your eye there? I kind of wanted to experiment with some different ones, even though we've already started and have this look. There's no reason why we can't experiment and try some different things. So this is the flat alternate Kyle's Real Oil, and you know, I wouldn't recommend changing the names of these, because if you change the name, then if you're watching a tutorial online or you see something done by Kyle, he'll reference those names, and if you change the names, you're not going to be able to find them again. So what I'd recommend is, if you find one you like, just simply append it with your initials, so that when you use the search feature up here, you can find it again and use it. So we've got a lot of refracted light, included light. We've got a translucent object. There's a lot going on here, so we'll see if we can't sort this out and make something look halfway decent. All right, here we go. Last time we were using just the lasso tool. We're starting about on time. We're going to do 30 minutes. I'm going to switch Shift L. L is for lasso, Shift L gives me the polygonal lasso, and I want to switch over and highlight off the next section that I want to paint. I think I want to continue with these crystals. I think these two crystals are done. When doing a painting like this that apparently we're going to end up doing in stages, it's good to do it to completion for each stage. So, and what we were doing is we were just lassoing off an area and then painting away and seeing what happens. And we've got so many good colors here, we can just eyedropper right out of these colors that already exist. I want to make sure we stay in these real oil category. And it took me out of that, so let's come back down here. I think the one I was looking at was Bristle Drag. Like I said, we used Bristly Bob last time. We can try some different ones. But we're going to come in here. I'm going to grab this really bright red. And then let's just lay down some color. And see what happens. And if you go here, make sure we have transfer turned on, float is good. You know, you could just hit Command Delete or I'm sorry, Option Delete in this case, and just fill it in, and that would give you a base too. You don't have to paint it in. I like doing the brush strokes though, because the brush strokes give you a sense of texture underlyingly already, just right out of the gate. So now let's pull, I think, some shadow into this. Some real dark stuff happening. And you know, each time I should probably try to move the camera around so you're not having to look at the back of my head all the time, or kind of try to face you. But I'm going to get some of this purple in here, maybe up under here. And I really want this one, the light's coming in like this, and so I think this one is going to be hit with a whole bunch of light. I mean, we can really do whatever we want. There's kind of like no wrong answers. No one's going to be saying it's wrong. I just really like how I'm going to come in here with something small. Maybe turn the flow up. And that could follow like a little ghostly whiff of texture, and then come in here with some of this lighter color. I don't want it to be too muted though. See, this is my color squatch up here in the corner. I don't know if you can see that, but these mixer brushes don't use the typical color swatches. They use these color swatches, and you can see it's got that weird little dot in there. As I continue to paint over this, my paintbrush, just like a real paintbrush, I'm painting over paint, is going to pick up the paint that I'm painting over, and that's going to continue to kind of like dirty my brush. You could almost think of it as. So make sure you vary your strokes. You want it to have a painterly quality to it. If you don't, you know, you're not coloring it with a colored pencil or a crayon. And I have my front button here set to eyedropper and my top button set to undo, so it allows me to just, as I'm working, I don't need to, I love finger commands. I used to teach Photoshop and I would have like 250 finger commands that I make my students memorize, but in this case I don't need to use them for eyedroppering anyway. I can just focus on painting and just eyedropper, paint with that. I kind of want, I think, a bright shadow a bright reflection off of these other things right here. And that'll help make this darker stuff and have some pop to it. I'm going to put a lot of kind of reflection on this particular one here, I think. Let's grab some of this grayer stuff. Grab some of this purple. Vary that up, vary your pressure. I have to say, these real oil brushes, since they're mixer brushes, really have a unique characteristic that kind of takes some getting used to. And even though they're called real oil brushes, sometimes just the plain old normal paintbrushes, I think, are a little easier to control because they're a little more predictable in how they're built and in how they lay down paint. Of course, that's all editable. And that's part of what this channel is about, is trying to explore that, figuring out how that all works, how each brush works. I really want a bright cherry red, so normally I'm just taking it out of here, but let's show like this. Let's see, yeah, that's what I'm looking for right there. You can kind of feather it in. I lost my primary hue, so I'm back. Kind of want this to be just inside of this crystal, just lit up. And then we can even take some white and just put it right here on the edge. It's like a big kind of reflection. So don't forget to say hello. Introduce yourself so we know who's watching. I do have the first episode of this archived on YouTube under my username Dweehouse. All right, I kind of think I want to say I'm done with this. I would love to have a little more purple in here, though. I kind of feel like, you know, the inclination, my inclination, would be to just come in here and make everything like cherry red. It's like a ruby, right? I want it to be rubyific. But the reality is, with all the inclusions and everything that's going on, I don't know if I like that. We can undo that a little bit. There we go. There's a lot more going on than just ruby red. And we kind of want to reflect that. Now some of this is a little, I think I went a little overboard. So this is where Thrasher comes in. And you've seen me use this before, but I'm just going to make this nice and big. I'm going to soften this out a little bit. All right, in the right spots. There, maybe too much. Nope, I'm gonna leave it alone. Now I can use my brush history to come right back to the brush that I've been using. So, and grab that dark red and just bring back a little bit of definition. Maybe make the brush small and just paint in a little. Just a little bit of detail. of all that kind of refracted light that's happening in there. All right, let's move on. That was way too long. We should be doing like 5 minutes of crystal, and I've done like 10 minutes on one facet of a crystal. So Command D for deselect, next L for lasso, and we'll lasso up the next section here. Didn't quite catch that spot. So escape, Command plus, space bar, space bar. Why is my space bar not working? I don't know why my space bar is not working, but we can do it like this too. The old touch screen. Okay, so now we'll lasso this next section. I don't know if I want it. This was a pencil drawing originally. It's got a little imperfection in it, but I don't know if the crystal will really do that, so I think I'm going to keep it squared off. We'll just kind of go around this for now. I think I want to add actually this bottom part, so I'm not sure that this is all actually part of this crystal, but we'll paint it all at the same time. I'll have to troubleshoot my spacebar later. My screens keep wanting to fall asleep. Okay, so. Oh, I see. No? My keyboard turned off? I don't know what's going on. Okay, well, this is our next piece. So, let's make it a little smaller. Command minus. I don't like looking at these, so Command H. And then this side I want to be hit in super bright light like these top crystal facets are. So we'll start with just filling in with some red. I can eyedropper that. Thank you, Lee. That's still working. And then we'll Option Delete. Burnt. There we go. There's a good base color. And then let's add in some other. Let's try this really big. Yep. Let's come all the way back down to our mixer brushes and the real oils. We were trying this bristle drag brush to make it a little bigger and see what happens. You know, I do want it to have painterly quality, and I do want to do it quickly, so having too small of a brush isn't really helping my situation of quickness. I think I'm good. So now we want to bring in that super bright highlight. So I'm actually going to make a new layer, but paint inside the current selection. So remember, we hid the selection. That was Command H, but it's still there. So on my new layer, I could blend it all in. I guess if I was brave, I could blend it all in. But we'll go ahead and paint with white and see what we get here. I want to create a big sweeping reflection. Now the reason I did it on a separate layer, normally with oils, you'd be all on one layer. And normally when I'm painting like this, I try to emulate even that experience and paint on one layer. But I want to be able to paint this on thick. I want to be able to smooth it out, and then I want to be able to take it off where I don't want it. So, I mean, that's something I need to have separate layers for. So let's smooth this out. Make it soft down here. Bigger brush. It's interesting how it kind of gets slowed down when I use the bigger brushes. I don't like that one. See, that's why you experiment. I want this to be really kind of smooth. I think I want to come back and deal with that bottom section later, but for now, just do something like that maybe. Now this is on its own layer, so it... No, we're still... I forgot. We still have our selection going on. See? Hidden. Boink. So we're good. Let's add a little more white paint. It'd be cool if they had finger commands to hop between these. Let's try the palette knife. What's nice about the palette knife is you can see it follows the arc of my hand. So I'm going to create a new layer for this. I'm going to come in and just give us a big swipe. We'll see what happens. Yep. I'm going to turn my flow down to like nothing. Oops. That still had flow. Oh, I need to turn my load down. Turn my load down to like nothing, I think is what I need. Make this a little bigger. I just want to scrape. Yeah, that's kind of what I want, except I need it to be way bigger. Yep, that's what we're looking for. So let's turn this down. Actually, let's just I want that effect, but I want it I want it that way the whole way, so here we go. Try that. Yeah, that's kind of what I want. You know, I don't have a real palette knife, so we just kind of have to play with it till we get the effect we want. I think that's it. I think that's the effect I want. Now hit V for the move tool, and then turn this down just a little bit so I can see through it a little better. Maybe 50%. Take this, look at this one. See too much. 100% I think works for that one. I think we're going to do one more layer. You know, we can also experiment with these and see what they look like in like different blend modes, you know, that would really change their intensity. But I do want it to be white, and I do want it to be particularly white up top here. So let's see. Let's come back to a paintbrush. We can try a different one. Basic wet. That might be too intense, but I kind of want a big intense highlight across the top here. So we can use that for that. And I don't think I want to go out to perfectly white, because perfectly white is weird usually. But we could try going out to perfectly white, just right on the very edge, because it's just such an intense highlight that maybe it's perfectly white right there. Let's try bristle cut. Be a little softer, a little more intense. Red, a little maybe darker red. I need it to blend more, so I need way more mix. That bristle brush cut has a very hard brush feel. Let's try go back to Bristly Bob like we were using last week. Yeah. Too dark. Yeah, see now that? Let's give in the transition that I want. Oops. We're just blending in a little bit. That has a painterly quality. Now, like when we tie in these other facets, it should hopefully connect. I want to get at least, I kind of wanted to get a couple, this one crystal done. I don't like leaving crystals incomplete, so let's see if we can get this one done. These little pieces should go fast. I'm just going to paint this one really like blood red. I want it to be like a really cherry red. Let me flatten these layers down together too. So that's going to be Command. So you got all these layers from these highlights we did. Command D, Command D, Command D brings that all back down to one layer. There we go. And I'm going to lock the transparency on this layer, deselect, and then put in just a little more of this bright red. So don't forget to say hello if you're watching. I got things happening on my screens. I wonder if that's why my spacebar wasn't working earlier. I bet it was. I don't know, I'll have to troubleshoot that later. So let's do this last one here, lasso. We got 2 more to do before this crystal's done. I have to turn off the transparency lock, or otherwise I won't be able to paint here. And this one's going to be B for brush, and then let's get it in nice and dark red. That kind of wraps that corner. Maybe really dark. Yeah, we'll leave a little bit of refracted light. Throw some of that purple in there to tie it together. Oops. Because it's all one layer, I can pick up paint from where it overlaps. And I think we're good. Let's deselect, L for lasso. Take this last little crystal here. Let me zoom in on this little. See what's going on. See, these facets don't all quite match, so I want to make sure that now on this last one, the first ones it didn't matter because I just always overlapped the last one, but this one does matter. Put a little blunt end on it. There we go. And B for brush, eyedropper, paint that in. Really dark over here. Now we can deselect, turn the pencil drawing for a minute, and got all the basic shapes, but now what I want to do is, oh, I got a little smooch here. Deselect, escape, Shift L, Shift L. Command X. All right, turn off touch. That's why I keep getting weird stuff. So now we can come in with brush, lock the transparency, and come in maybe with just a pure white. And like I said, I don't normally use pure white, but what we want to do is add just some little tiny glints of light in a couple little spots here to really make this sing. And actually, you could probably just do this with a normal old-fashioned general round brush. Maybe we could do this. Okay, so really small. Just gonna add, let's turn, load up, mix down, flow up. Let's see, Shift G. There we go. That's what we want. Just come in, pick that up, just barely. I really like the crisp edge of the lasso that I get, but so I don't want to ruin that. So I want to try to keep these strokes kind of straight, I guess that's my point. I'm putting in some black edging to these too. This isn't, well, not real black. I'm eyedropping out of my purpley-ish colors that I have here. I try not to ever use real black or real white ever. This is a little unusual that I used real white here because it's a ruby and it has a perfect and pure white shine reflection, but that's sort of unusual. That might be a little intense. Let's make that a little smaller. All right. Now, I've just hidden any overspill by grouping this layer with the clipping mask, but I'm going to go ahead and command click on that layer and then invert it, command shift I, and then cut it, command X, and that's going to clean off anything off of here. And now I can ungroup it, command option G, and I don't get any spillover. And now I can merge it down, command E, and then we can zoom out, command minus. All right, so there's Crystal 2. Well, that's all the time we have. I guess it's Crystal 3, sorry. That's all the time we have for today. So we'll go ahead and save this, Command S, and we'll come back to it. Spend 30 minutes, another day. Don't forget to find the recorded copies of this on YouTube. They'll be categorized by subject matter. So, you know, the archive here in Behance is a little hard to sort through, but in YouTube I'll have them made into playlists, and you can subscribe there and like there and comment there, because once I close out the live stream, the comments are gone. So, but you can comment and ask questions on YouTube. And I do work on a big illustration every Wednesday and Thursday night. I just work on these little illustrations as there's time. I'm kind of hoping I'd be able to do maybe a little 30-minute session every day. We'll see if there's interest or demand. But I mean, if I'm streaming, I might as well be sharing, right? So I used to use Photoshop for many, many years. Used to teach Photoshop for many, many years. And but doing the oils is new, and so we can explore that together, and hopefully you can learn from my mistakes. You guys have a great weekend. Good night.